The Auburn Tigers still can't get it done.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on in to Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Morning after edition, Darrel Dapprich joining us from Nashville. The Auburn Tigers, they still lose in dramatic fashion because that's just what we do. It just looked different. They lose in overtime, Darrel, to 45-38 against Vanderbilt. The offense was electric. The defense couldn't stop Diego Pavia, and it's just it's frustrating. It's frustrating, and as this sits, I'm actually more frustrated now than I was immediately after the game, if I'm being entirely honest with you.
I am too, because I think the problem that everybody knew that was the glaring issue that was holding Auburn back this year gets rectified. They put 38 points on the board, look as dynamic as they've looked offensively in quite a long time. And I would have bet my house, my car, everything I have, if you'd have told me Auburn scoring 38, I'd have said, oh, they win the game. But at the end of the day, what you said wraps it up in a nutshell. It looked different, but we still got to the same destination. We took a different avenue, a different street, but at the end, we still got to the same destination. The journey just looked different. Auburn finds a way to lose a close game that they could have won had some things gone differently. Now, I will say this. The one difference, saying that it looked different, was that the Auburn teams under Hugh Freeze, in my opinion, would have folded like a T-shirt. When Vandy kept coming back and taking the lead, it would have been over. I don't see –
the fight was there.
They came back and took the lead. They came back and tied. I don't think they do that in previous weeks.
And they look prepared to do it too. The drive at the end of the first half, they looked prepared, and then seemed like they had a play ready to go for the 2-point conversion and all that. Like, they looked prepared. Looked like there was a plan on offense. The other thing that was different too is, like, if Auburn loses this game, like we all thought, 21-13 or 17-10 or, whatever lower scoring game that pretty much everybody predicted, it's still, the offense doesn't work. Now it gets a little tricky because, oh wait, you fire Hugh Freeze and the offense looked like we all thought it was going to look all season. And so it is a better avenue. You're right. You still, to use yours, you took a different avenue. You took a different street. And you got to the same place. But the scenery on this avenue or street, one, it looked better. Maybe, maybe it was a less bumpy ride. But also, it was proof that the other way is a way you should never go again.
Correct. Great analogy. Instead of just looking
at it, I just expanded on it.
Instead of looking at barren desert out your window and seeing tumbleweeds, you saw trees and hills, but you still got to a dead-end street, which was equated to a loss. And I think I'm concerned about the fact that whatever head coach Auburn has and whatever head coach Auburn's used this year, the one thing that's been a constant is the lack of discipline and the self-inflicting stuff. Now, I want to say that in previous games, there were some officiating issues that really hurt. But we also talked about if you wouldn't have done things to shoot yourself in the foot, you could have overcome the officiating. Auburn tonight, although if you look at the penalty inequity, still unbelievable to me.
It was uneven. I don't want to talk about officiating, Darrel.
No, but I'm just saying, from a penalty standpoint, when you look at that sheet, you do have to shake your head and go, but the penalties were part of the story, Zach. Not the officiating, but the fact that Auburn did take some dumb penalties. I said it in the first half. Auburn left 8 points on the field in that first half. How big would those 8 points have been towards the end of that game? You have a false start on 1st and goal from the freaking 1 yard line.
Right.
Unacceptable.
Correct.
You hold somebody on the backside of a play when Daniels has already cleared the line of scrimmage. You don't even need to hold the guy. And
You're right.
brings a touchdown off the table. And so both of those drives, by the way, Auburn kicked field goals. So give them credit for still getting points. There was not a lot of empty possessions. And every time Vanderbilt drove and scored, Auburn came back down the field and more than likely scored. That again. But yeah, so I mean,
what? Right.
At the end of the day, it still wasn't enough. The undisciplined penalties. And so I'm a little concerned because that goes back to leadership. When you are that undisciplined, that's up to the coach to clean that up. And I know Durkin was an interim, but when I asked that question in the press conference, he seemed very unbothered.
What was the question specifically?
I
Darrel,
specifically said, Coach, if you look at the flow of this game, some of the penalties that you had cost you points, 8 points to be specific, and the penalties were the story. I mean, there was a ton of penalties where you shot yourself in the foot and hurt yourself. And he completely almost finished my sentence and said, I don't mind my team taking aggression penalties. We weren't going to lay back. We came to play. We were emotional. And if my team plays that way, well, that's great. But those emotional, when I'm not talking about roughing the passer or a face mask, I'm talking about a pre-snap penalty and a holding penalty, which is not aggressive. It's just dumb when the play has already gone by you. That's not the same thing. A roughing the passer, a pass interference, I get those, right?
Yeah, Darrel, unless he said something otherwise, is there a chance that he was referring to just the defensive side? Like he's okay with the occasional PI or I guess face mask would have fallen in it. Like, is there a chance that he wasn't talking about the offensive stuff with that?
Yeah, because he actually mentioned pass interference in his response by name and said, we got a little handsy. We can coach that up, but that's just being aggressive, playing the ball. So, yeah, I don't think he specifically understood that I was talking about a pre-snap penalty on 1st and goal from the 1 and a holding penalty that negated a touchdown. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's weird that maybe he didn't think about
that. How about
that.
this one? How about on 2nd and 10 from the 24, Auburn finally gets pressure on Pavia and sacks him for an 11-yard loss all the way back inside the 15.
Yes.
And instead of 3rd, in Chattanooga, they get a 1st down for a face mask penalty on Pleasant in the secondary when he wasn't even throwing the ball that direction.
Right.
Those are undisciplined.
No, I'm with you. The officiating was bad. For sure. I just
no. I'm not saying that. That was a penalty. Pleasant committed the penalty.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, if we're going to talk holistically about this, which I guess we are, like there's so much stuff that just wasn't called that's atrocious and ridiculous. Yes. And then the ticky-tack stuff that was called on Auburn, which once again, like to your point, like it's a penalty. Like, yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff that was a penalty that wasn't called. But like,
to your point,
I'm so tired of it.
I know, but to your point, then call the other stuff too. I get it. Then just be consistent. I'm not saying that Auburn didn't commit penalties. I'm saying that don't let the non-holding calls go all night long, right?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Be consistent.
Yeah, and Brian and I talked about this in the live last night where I hate to be tinfoil hat guy, but like that's the kind of stuff where it really seems like if you're still alive and have a chance to make the playoff, they treat you differently. Like it really seems like that at this point. I really don't want to talk about officiating. I really don't. So let's pivot, talk about what DJ Durkin said after the game and what this might mean moving forward. Because whatever you were looking for last night, I think you found it. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Wayfair. Wayfair is the best place to buy furniture. I mean, we know this. The holiday season is right around the corner. That means it's time to get your home ready, whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting. Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. Darrel, you've bought stuff from Wayfair. I've bought stuff from Wayfair. Right now with Wayfair, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals, they're happening all month long. up to 70% off, Darrel, from sofas to spatulas right now at Wayfair.
I've bought a sink.
Yes.
We're building a sun porch and some outdoor patio furniture maybe in order from Wayfair.
Yes. Yeah. We've bought couches. We've bought chairs that are in our living or in our bedroom. We've bought our dining room table, all from Wayfair. So don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com, shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's wayfair.com. Sale ends December 7th. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's America's #1 sports book. Man, that line shifting was a big deal. Started at 7.5, moved to 6.5 for the Auburn Tigers. And so if you thought Auburn would cover, you missed it by half a point, because they have been spot on with Auburn's games this year. Right now, new customers with FanDuel, you can bet $300 in bonus bets when that first $5 bet. Excuse me, when you can bet $5 in bonus bets when that first $5 bet hits. You win $300 to use throughout the app, which is awesome. So head over to FanDuel.com to sign up today and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Darrel, whatever you were looking for last night with Auburn, you found it. If you were pro DJ Durkin taking the job, there's plenty of things you can point to: energy, life, passion, excitement, a clear, better product offensively than where you were. If you're looking and saying, hey, DJ Durkin, I don't want him to be elevated to be head coach, maybe keep him on staff as a defensive coordinator, but I don't want him to be the guy. You saw that too. A lot of people saying like he's clearly just a coordinator. He can't handle the defense and overall head coaching duties. Whatever you were looking for last night when it comes to your opinion on DJ Durkin, you have plenty of evidence to back up whatever claim you want to make.
It's a really good take. That is a really good way to look at that, because it really just kind of puts it in a nutshell of that football game. You making the point that he had to call the defense, which he did, and be a head coach. Was there some lacking of attention or concentration on the defense because of that? I get it.
Maybe
the discipline part, like I said, and that's, I want to make absolutely sure everybody listening understands that bringing up penalties for me was not bringing up officiating. It was meant to talk about self-inflicted wounds. And I think, don't you agree that as a football team, you are kind of a reflection from a discipline standpoint of your head coach? Now, he's not going out there committing penalties, but when you talk about enthusiasm, I will say,
if it's a full-time, yes. I don't think that applies 6 days.
Correct. I think what set the tone for me tonight was what happened pregame. It spoke volumes to me. So you couldn't see it on TV, but before the game started, while the coin toss was going on, Vanderbilt's whole bench started to come off the bench and walk towards Auburn's sideline. And they were jumping up and down. They were shooting birds. They were pointing at Auburn. They were yelling. They were just trying to intimidate them. And they got all the way up to midfield at the logo, the Vanderbilt logo, before they were kind of stopped, or they stopped. And at that point, Auburn realized what was going on. And to Auburn's credit, about 15 to 20 Auburn players started heading that way, like, okay, and started to come to midfield to meet them. And Auburn's coaching staff did a really good job of keeping Auburn from going to meet Vanderbilt. But it showed me that there was a little more fight. Remember what happened in the Missouri game when they started running that mouth at the coin toss, and Auburn looked like, some of their players looked like meek little, didn't respond to that, didn't say anything back, didn't do anything back. I did like the fight. I did like the fact that they were ready to go. And they came at them. I mean, they were coming to midfield to say, if this is what you want, this is what you're going to get. That's the mentality that Auburn needs to have. And I do believe that's a reflection of Durkin. It really is.
Okay.
Yeah. So that kind of got all, and when he said to me, our guys were really emotional, I think that was an indication of that. They were not going to be intimidated or taunted or whatever. And obviously Pavia is known for that and kind of was the ringleader. He wasn't at the coin toss, I don't believe. But anyway, So the bottom line is that showed me some fight that you were referring to, some enthusiasm. I like that, and that kind of set the tone for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's interesting. As far as what else DJ said, what stood out to you? What was different from a DJ Durkin post-game presser versus a Hugh Freeze?
A lot more emotion and realness. We used to talk about Freeze being real and maybe saying too much, but I'm wondering now if, I don't know if it was just window dressing. Durkin came to the mic, and when he was asked the first question, he said, "Before I start, I want to talk about these kids." And he had to pause. Anyone can go back and watch it. He had to pause for a few seconds and collect himself and compose himself because he got emotional, very emotional. And he said, they have been through so much this week. And he said, every coach in America has been coming at them, trying to get them to jump in the portal. Very telling. And he said, but they've stayed together, and they want to play for Auburn, and they fought for me, and they did not quit tonight. And he said, I can't say enough about those kids and how they represented Auburn. And he was very emotional, and he got emotional about it again and kind of knocked on the podium, like with his fist, to kind of give himself some time and get himself composed, because he talked about how none of those kids ever mentioned wanting to leave. You think about that, Zach. There are a lot of schools right now that are 4 and 6, and players are jumping in the portal left or redshirting or doing whatever they need to do to save their eligibility to go somewhere else. And so far, this Auburn team, other than Austin, has stayed together and not done that. And Coleman, he also said, this was really awesome. He said, my offensive game plan was very simple. It was to get the ball into the hands of our best players. And you look at what Singleton and Coleman did tonight, and he said they're two of the best players in America, and they weren't being used that way. And he said, he said, I talked about not just what you do, it's how you do it and who does it. He referred back to that. And he said, we needed our guys that are playmakers to get the ball in their hands. And then he talked about Ashton Daniels and how on rhythm he was and how, good he looked.
Yeah, it's just 350-yard passer. You had a 100-yard rusher with Ashton being close to 100 yards. I think he had 89. You had 2 receivers that had over 100 yards. Both of them had at least 10 catches.
When's the last time an Auburn quarterback, Zach, had 480 yards of total offense himself? Or no, 440, and was responsible for like 5 touchdowns. I mean, think about it. I mean, he scored 2 on his own and threw for 3, I think.
The last time Auburn had 2 receivers with 10 or more catches?
I can't. It had to have been.
According to the post-game email, it's never happened before.
Wow. And I was thinking that it would have been the Frank Sanders, Thomas Bailey teams in the 90s with Terry Bowden when he had those really good receivers. So that's
the last time Auburn had a 350-yard passer, a 100-yard rusher, and a 100-yard receiver was the 04 team.
Wow. And Cobb, who got really stifled early, what a great job he did coming back.
He kept chipping away. He started getting like 6 to 10 a pop.
Yeah, he was gashing them. And, look, there's nobody that's happier for Ashton Daniels than me. And to see that performance. Now, I'm not saying that I ever thought he had that kind of performance in him. I thought he would be
amazing,
serviceable, right? Solid, poised, a leader. And he looked a little lost last week. And I was like, well, I might have missed. And then just getting put in the right offense with the right.
He looked like a star last night. I mean, if we win that game in overtime, it becomes a national story of like how bad Hugh Freeze fumbled the QB situation.
Yeah. I can see
because
that.
all the attention Jackson got and all that. Like it becomes a totally different thing. And now it's fascinating because one, do you play him against Mercer?
Man, I was glad you said you're reading my mind. That was my next question. What do you do next week?
Yeah, we'll do a full show on that at some point.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if you do redshirt him,
what does that mean for next year? Are you saying that him and Deuce
are you comfortable with Ashton being the guy?
Right. Yeah. What does that mean if you save him for next year? Is he an insurance policy as a backup? Do you think he's the guy? Do you think that that Deuce doesn't beat him out? Where does Deuce settle into that equation?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to go portal anyway, because assuming no one leaves and nobody flips or anything like that, and let's assume we redshirt Ashton, against Mercer, you got Ashton, Deuce, Peyton Falzone, and I think portal guy. Now, who that portal guy is interesting. Do you go out and get a guy who can compete, or do you go and get a guy that we thought, like what Ashton Daniels could have been this year? That's super, super interesting. And I think who they try to go get will tell you what they think about Ashton and what they think about Deuce. There's also a chance, depending on who you play against Mercer, if it's not Deuce, I think that's them saying, Deuce, you can leave.
Oh man, that's very interesting and enlightening, because you also got to think about if you do overhaul the staff, meaning you do go out and hire a new head coach that wants to bring in his own offensive coordinator. Is that offensive coordinator going to say, "Oh, I'll just stick with the quarterbacks I inherit," or is he want to go get one in the portal?
Well, he's probably going to go get his own. You would think
his own, right? If you get a guy that
Deuce, or somebody who's like a big talent.
There's so many what ifs and so many unknowns that it's just.
The QB situation is so nuanced, and then the redshirt element with Ashton makes it more nuanced, because if you do that, you have to pick either Jackson or Deuce.
Yeah, and if you pick Jackson, then it sends the message, like you said, to Deuce, that we don't know if you're our guy. I would do this, just me, okay? I would start Deuce because you're playing Mercer.
I would too. I would start.
You have the safety. You have the safety net of Jackson Arnold, who's played 20-something college football games, and then break glass in case of emergency if he doesn't get it done. Then you play, Ashton if he has to come in and save you off the bench. I don't think it would get to that point.
No,
I think you could beat Mercer with Deuce and Jackson, but if Deuce doesn't look good,
well, here's another layer to it. Deuce, with all of the social media behavior, I don't think, I said this on the live, I got some pushback. I think with the way Deuce has acted off the field in regards to the social media stuff, I don't think Durkin's going to play him.
Because he's such an old school, hard-nosed.
I think he would be more likely to. I think Deuce would be more likely to play if Freeze was still here than Durkin.
True, because he was get placated in that scenario. The other thing
there's so many layers to this.
But what we would see in starting Deuce against Mercer is what you've been screaming for all offseason is, if you play Deuce, I want to see him with the ones. And you would in this scenario.
You'd start him, right?
You'd see him with Cobb and with Singleton and with Coleman, and how much better would he look with them instead of what he looked like against Ball State. So, no, I would start him. I would do the sink or swim scenario. Go get it, kid. Let's see what you got. I know it's only Mercer, but if you can't light up Mercer, are you really my dude next year, right?
All right.
With the ones?
Other question, that's another layer of this, and then we'll move on and kind of do final thoughts. If you're Durkin and you want to be Auburn's next head coach, which quarterback helps you do that the most? What's the best pitch for the fans / court of public opinion, for players believing in you? I think that's an argument for Deuce. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, even if you beat Mercer ugly and your quarterback play, I don't see that, though. I think this offense will be humming Saturday.
I think you could put any of the three quarterbacks in and just run it.
Yeah, I mean, Cobb, and remember, Darrel's ready. I think he'll get some carries. Mapson will get some carries.
Yeah.
You can go read option, and, even Deuce could run it. He's capable.
And they're not going to have corners to cover our guys.
Right. And they're not going to, and defensively.
I feel better about saying now after seeing the stuff last night versus,
right,
every other game this season.
It was beautiful. Used the middle of the field through some beautiful screens.
The offense was great. It sucks how bad the defense was last night. It's so sad.
It's the story and the absolute biography that's going to be written on this sorry year is that when the offense finally explodes, the defense chooses to play its worst game of the year.
Which we should have predicted that. Like, right? Like that's I don't think I would have done it against Vandy.
And I get that. Here's the other interesting thing. You got to hear this. Durkin said that Vanderbilt switched, and it surprised them. They weren't prepared for what Vanderbilt changed offensively coming out of halftime. And he said what they normally did was run 2 or 3 tight ends and run it a lot and throw off of that. And they changed their whole they spread them out. They went empty. And went tempo. He said they never went tempo like that. And he said they found that with the last drive at the end of the first half when they went tempo because of clock and out of necessity and saw that it was successful. And so they stuck with it in the second half. And he said that gave them fits.
Interesting.
They weren't. And so somebody said, which was great, maybe it was Ferg said, well, what were you expecting? What do they do? And he said, they run it out, they grind it out, they go 2 or 3 tight end, they do quarterback run with Pavia, they throw off play action, but they don't go tempo and they don't go empty and they don't spread it out. And they did that on us in the second half, and we couldn't stop it.
Does the loss against Vandy impact your thoughts on DJ Durkin one way or the other to be Auburn's next head coach?
Yes.
Good or bad?
Bad.
Okay.
I know that's probably going to be controversial. I love the guy.
I don't think it will be.
He definitely exudes the confidence of a head coach. But again, I don't like how undisciplined the team was. I don't like how it looked like when his duties or his focus had to be split because of being a head coach, how that responded. I don't like that he didn't feel that the penalties weren't a big deal to him. And then what I just said, the adjustment at halftime wasn't made.
Yeah. And like, does he approach that differently if he's just over the defense?
Yeah.
It's impossible for us to know.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would say like very slightly negative for me. It's not much, but it is like a smidge down for me.
I love the guy, and I love the emotion that he showed at the podium, and I loved how hard the team played. Those are all so I don't want to sound like I'm dumping on him by saying that I feel like he took a step back. I think, well, look, I'm just going to be honest. I had him 3rd or 4th on the list anyway. Okay.
True.
So he would have had to do a lot, in my opinion, and I've said this from the get-go. You give the guy a shot, you let this be an audition, and the only way you name him head coach is if he wins out. That's what otherwise you go for a bigger swing and swing and miss candidate. That's what you do.
Yeah. So we'll see. Tulane scored a lot of points Friday night.
They did.
All right. Darrel, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, DAP6410, and then obviously basketball Tuesday night. We'll be doing the live, and then our normal shows on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Yes. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.